Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, another special edition of the Terrible Podcast, Pittsburgh Steelers Training Camp 2019. It is July 31st, the last day of July. It is 6:36 in Las Vegas. That means it's 9:36 just outside of Pittsburgh, where my co-host, the great Alex Kozora, is. I guess I should tell everybody I'm Dave Bryan, but they probably should know that by now. But regardless, happy Wednesday, Alex.
Happy Wednesday, Dave. Yeah, you had a day off yesterday. Back at it today for the longest stretch of camp. 5 straight days. That'll include the Friday Night Lights practice, obviously this Friday, and then the Sunday Family Fest practice at Heinz Field. So really kind of getting into the grindiest part of training camp, and obviously the first game is not too far away.
Absolutely, and I was just thinking today, man, we have the first preseason game is still over a week away. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I got those itches, those ticks going on right now. I certainly can't wait reading all this great stuff that you're putting out, coming out of training camp. Really, man, it really gets your blood. We're going to overanalyze the living bleep out of that game against the Buccaneers. So I hope people who read the site and listen to this podcast are ready for that. We're gonna overanalyze it like probably we do every first preseason game of the year. You mentioned the grind of training camp. It has begun, and it's starting to really reflect in the daily injury report. Wednesday had a few more players succumb, if you will, to some sort of injury, and Mike Tomlin recapped those after the practice was over. He says we had a couple of injuries to note. Ryan Switzer got banged on the quad. He's being evaluated. Derwin Gray, of course, the rookie offensive lineman out of Maryland, 7th rounder, had fatigue-like issues, and he was taken in, according to Tomlin. Tomlin went on to say, I think Herb Waters has a shoulder injury. He's being evaluated. So just some of the bumps and bruises associated with this time of year. To hear Tomlin talk, and I don't know for sure, I'm speculating here, it sounds like Herb Waters, the cornerback there, might potentially be the most serious of those guys that were injured today. We'll see. Outside linebacker Anthony Chickillo did not practice on Wednesday. At first, I think it was believed that maybe he was just being given the day off. Tomlin was asked about that, and he said he was being evaluated, but I don't expect it to be anything significant. So obviously something going on with Anthony Chickillo. The other guys that I believe missed practice, help me out here. This list is getting long, Alex. T.J. Watt, who remains on active PUP with a hamstring. Safety Sean Davis with a finger. Wide receiver Dante Moncrief with a finger. Wide receiver Johnny Holton with a hamstring, although I think he did try to test that out a little bit today. Correct me if I'm wrong. And David DeCastro was given, Tomlin's rotating through these veteran guys, and it sounds like David DeCastro was given a veteran day off. Did I pass?
You passed with flying colors. Yeah, DeCastro had the day off, so a lot of these elder linemen with Pouncey, Foster, DeCastro have gotten days off. Gray should be back tomorrow. Johnny Holton was in pads, very limited though, barely even did individual, was not in team, had 1 rep in the kick return special team session, so he's close, but I was hoping he would get back with more of a full practice today, so that still may be a day or two away. And then, of course, the big move, and you can probably cover it a little better than I can, cornerback Alexander Myers, who has not practiced at all at camp so far, has been waived with illness, I guess, and the Steelers have signed wide receiver Brandon Riley.
Yeah, props to you for catching that right out of the chute, Alex. Proud of you. Nobody's more of an eagle eye out there than you are. You noticed right from the get-go that Alexander Myers had not practiced yet. We had to wait until 5 days into training camp before really kind of news surfaced on that. And you're right. He was waived with a non-football illness designation today, and they claimed wide receiver Brandon Riley out of Nebraska off of waivers from the Detroit Lions. This is a kid that was originally signed by the Buffalo Bills in 2017. As an undrafted free agent, he spent time on their practice squad his rookie season. I think he dressed for 4 games at the end of his rookie season, or no, he was moved to their 53-man roster with 4 games left in his rookie 2017 season. He did not dress for any of those games. He has since spent time the last 2 seasons on the practice squads, or last year on the practice squads of the Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions waived him on the 30th there. The Steelers claimed him off waivers. He caught 70 passes for 1,275 yards and 6 touchdowns in the 41 games that he played at Nebraska. His 2017 Pro Day, he measured in at 6'0", almost 6'2", 202 pounds, and reportedly ran his 40-yard dash in around 4.4 seconds. I quickly scoured his preseason tape from the last 2 preseasons, his time with the Bills. He caught like 15 passes for, 200-something yards and a touchdown. The thing that sticks out the most about that, along with some quick highlights from his college tape, he's a combative catcher. And I think that's the thing that really stuck out the most to me about him. We know the Steelers like those combative catch guys. It did, and I didn't get deep into it. It did look like he played some of the X receiver spot too. I don't know how much they moved him around, but he does look like he's kind of a versatile player. Some nice average, what would I like to call it, depth of target numbers, albeit just 15 preseason catches there. So with these, I know everybody's saying, man, why they need another wide receiver? Well, Johnny Holton's banged up, Dante Moncrief's banged up, and now Ryan Switzer banged up with that quad. Those lines are getting short. And explain how those lines work, Alex.
What do you mean exactly by
about the lines being short at a position, and why a team would need to go out and get a guy like Brandon Riley, even though they have quite a few other wide receivers on this roster.
Yeah, you just want a lot of receivers to be able to rotate in. You're not going to have Juju working every single rep. You want guys to come in, get extra reps. I mean, you have 60 plays, 75 plays of practice. You want to be able to rotate different guys. Guys can only play different spots, so it's not like all 8 receivers can play every single spot. Some guys are only slot guys, play the X, the Z. I mean, in Pittsburgh, guys can move around, but not everyone can play, all 3 positions. So it's nice just to have those guys to bring in, kick the tires on, and you never know. Sometimes these guys do stick. What was it? Justin Thomas 2 years ago was brought in mid-camp and then hung out in the practice squad for a little bit. So we've seen stories of guys that come in, do stick. Zach Banner last year made the 53 after being a mid-camp ad. LJ Ford, I think, is one of the best stories of mid-camp ads that turn out to be valuable players. So obviously the odds are going to be against a guy like Riley, but you do want to make sure you just have really good depth so you're not pressing somebody to have too many reps and overworking them.
And with Alexander Myers being waived with non-football illness, he should clear waivers, one would think, and probably laying back on the on injured reserve for the Steelers there.
I'm bummed about Myers. I really wanted to see him. I thought he had a good resume at Houston. The Steelers gave him a pretty big signing bonus. So unfortunately, we never even got to see one rep from Alexander Myers.
Yeah, and this illness must have popped up on him, or they must have just come across it. If not, had they known about it, they could have placed him on active PUP.
I hope he's okay. I mean, I don't know what exactly the illness would be to get him waived like that.
I don't know either, and I don't dare going to speculate on that. Sure. So keep your fingers crossed about him. Moving forward, this is not going to happen for him this year, obviously. All right, moving forward here. Let's start, I guess, with the position groups. DeCastro out. Sounded like B.J. Finney getting the reps at right guard in DeCastro's place. I assume Filer's still at right tackle, judging by the things that you tweeted out. Anything else kind of stick out to you today about the offensive line?
Yeah, that's how they ran. Finney at right guard just slid into where DeCastro was at. Garrett Brumfield, I think, got some work at center today. I forgot to check it during team drills, but I saw in warm-ups he was getting work at center, and kind of based on my notes, it looks like the Brumfield would have been there. I think he struggled. I think both LSU guys, unfortunately, have struggled so far, Hawkins and Brumfield. Hawkins definitely looks like a guy that missed all of last year, and I know there's a lot of rust, and you want to give him some time to kind of shake some of that stuff off, but he certainly had a really difficult start to camp. I mean, there's some good pass rushers in Pittsburgh right now, but he's struggling really with everybody, just even being able to have the athleticism to seal the edge and lacking power, and he's starting to cheat with his set and trying to almost guess, it feels like. So tough for him. Brumfield, again, can't stay off the ground. Fred Johnson did well today. He came a little gimpy. He did finish practice, but I do want to note he was hobbling around for a little bit. One needs to work on leverage. Being 6'6", it is easier for those guys, those smaller, squattier D tackles and D linemen to get under him, and he can get uprighted. So he's got to work on leverage and keeping his base and being able to sit in his stance. But I think he's off to a nice start, and I think that's basically the news that I have so far.
All right, Kevin Colbert was on the radio talking about Matt Filer and how he's had a great start to camp. Would you concur?
Yeah, he's been rock solid. I mean, the size that he has, the strength that he plays with, you can't bull him. You're not going to move him off the spot. He can anchor. He plays with good hand use, plays with solid leverage, has some position flexibility, can play both guard spots, right tackle, obviously, and then center in an absolute pinch. So, obviously, a core four is still going to battle. I'm not going to call that battle over, but Filer has started this as the leader, and he is still very much the leader today.
So, I mean, judging where things are now, it's still Filer's spot, right?
Yep, still Filer's spot to lose, and a core four. They have run some 6 offensive line stuff, so I think a core four, if he loses his spot, still going to have a role as that 6th tackle eligible kind of position.
Have you seen him work much on the left side?
Has not taken a snap there that I'm aware of. All been right side, all right tackles specifically.
I wonder if we're going to see any of that during the preseason.
Maybe a little, but you want to get Hawkins to work through, and I think you want to get a core four with reps at right tackle to make that a battle and let him really just kind of hone in on one spot and see how he does there. And then if the battle's lost, then the core four can start working both and then being the backup swing guy.
Alejandro Villanueva, somebody got underneath his skin today.
Yeah, the first training camp fight. 2 guys you wouldn't expect, Villanueva and Cam Hayward. I just kind of caught the end of it. Snell had a run. Tuitt made the tackle. I think Villanueva gave an extra shove, and Hayward kind of a little slap back, and Villanueva took a swing and missed, thank goodness, because that's bad for all parties involved, and it got broken up pretty quickly. But I kind of liked the fight because it really rose the intensity of that team session. It was the second team session, the full contact one, and you could really just kind of feel the energy and the intensity pick up even more than where it's usually at the very next play. Terrell Edmonds comes flying in, makes a tackle in the alley on Snell. Everyone's going crazy. So, I was sitting with a buddy, and he made a good point. When you see the veterans care about this so much and be so intense and emotional about it, I think the rest of the group kind of feeds off of it, because if they're saying 2 guys that are secure in their spots financially and position on the team, like they're good, they're really going after it like that. It tells the rest of the group that how much this matters. So I actually kind of like the fight, and obviously glad no one got hurt.
If they put that on pay-per-view, I would buy it.
I would too. Villanueva, who would win? I think Villanueva. I got to go with Billy. I love you, Cam. I'm going Villanueva. I'm going
Army Ranger.
Yeah.
No, of course, I buy every fight, but I would definitely buy that one. So, look, those things are going to happen. As the grind, as we like to say, rolls on through training camp here. All right, good stuff, Alex. Let's move on to the quarterback stuff. We're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. Not a game. Practice. But you actually have some stats up on quarterback stats. I'll give you a chance to quickly recap that and the insignificant significance of it, and then talk a little bit about the quarterback position today.
Yeah, the big thing I was going to point to was the stat recap that I did, which you can see on Steelers Depot. We'll do it after every off day, kind of just calculate the stats. Just to go through them briefly with Rudolph, I mean, you can kind of see the numbers. Rudolph's completing 73% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, 1 pick. Dobbs completing 40.4% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, 4 picks. Now, I think Dobbs is driving the football down the field a little bit better, a little more often. Some of the interceptions weren't his fault, but those numbers kind of tell the story of how erratic, and the term I used the other day, scattershot, Dobbs has been. Again, I do want to see Rudolph drive the football down the field more. I think he's the only quarterback with no completion of more than 20 yards, so he's been a little more conservative with it, where the other ones have been a little more aggressive. But I think those numbers just illustrate that Rudolph has been outplaying Dobbs. Today was fine, I think, for both guys. I don't think anyone stood out particularly at the quarterback position. I thought it was a better day than the other day, the last practice was that Monday, but just a fine day.
You're not ready to declare a winner yet then, huh?
No, I think Rudolph's had a better start, but you want to get into at least the game before we talk. I mean, we're a ways away from declaring winners. I'm not worried about that stuff till we're at the end of this thing. But Rudolph has had the better start than Dobbs, and the numbers I think back that up.
All right, good stuff there. All right, the running back position.
Some athletes. Malik Williams, I think he's going to have a good preseason. I think he's an athletic guy for a big body. He's able to put his foot in the ground, sink his hips, change directions. The other stuff might be a little more difficult with him. Some of the pass protection, some of the hands, that may be a little more questionable. But as a runner, I think he's shown explosion, pop, ability to win the edge, break out of tackles. So I've liked that. Benny Snell with a good day today, winning against Devin Bush on some of the one-on-ones, still running the ball hard, showing some power, showing some speed. I think his body of work overall has been impressive for a rookie. And then Sutton Smith working a little bit of fullback for the first time all training camp today. Not a surprise. Obviously, we knew he started that in OTAs, but went through the running backs and individual, had at least one snap at fullback in team. So you're going to see a number 42 at some point in this preseason working at fullback.
I cannot wait to see him. Just all the stuff that he's asked to do. Mike Tomlin pretty much said today. Look, his primary job, talking about Sutton Smith, is obviously going to be the outside linebacker position. So
and special teams
and special teams, obviously the special teams. And I'm trying to find out if I can find a quote here on it.
But having that versatility certainly helps. And again, it's going to really test that conditioning of Sutton Smith because he's going to play a lot of snaps.
Yeah, I don't have that quote in front of me here. I thought I did. Oh, he says, just trying to, cast a big net, not only for him, but in others, man. The more that you can do, it helps because he's a guy, some running back in his background, particularly the high school level, really accomplished. He's got the frame. There's a dominant MAC defender such as Rosie Nix was, there's a lot of things that I'm paraphrasing here, as you can see, trying to get through this chicken scratch here. There's a lot of things that kind of led us to that area, but we're just sticking our toe in the water. His main job, obviously, is outside linebacker, and that's where his focus is.
Yep. I mean, the only thing you could argue against is, losing some of those reps and drills at outside linebacker could hurt that position a little bit, but I think the versatility still outweighs that minor drawback.
And once again, the big emphasis on him. We're going to cheer. We're going to root. He'll have 3 or 4 sacks during the preseason, but we're more interested more than anything about how he does on special teams. That's the biggest focus, I think, when it comes to Sutton Smith there. All right. What about the kid out of Colorado?
Trayvon McMillan, I think he's been back of the pack behind everybody, behind Ralph Webb. Really nothing too notable. I think he's lacking some of the burst and explosiveness to hit the second level, turn the corner the other guys do. Nothing too special in pass protection or a receiver. I mean, we'll get in the games and see how stuff goes, but he's been the quietest of the running backs so far.
All right, tight end. Any new developments there? McDonald's healthy still, knock on wood.
Yep. That's good. Yeah, nothing too notable there. A little more from Xavier Grimble. He used to be one of those guys that had to do the sled over and over again, and he's now graduated to where he really doesn't have to do the blocking sled at all. He kind of gets to leave early with Vance and go catch some passes. So he's really come a long way as a blocker, and I think kind of those moments help illustrate that. I just appreciate, and I've said this before on previous articles and podcasts, the work that Christian Scotland Williamson is putting in. Every time I turn around or look around, I'm seeing him working somewhere. I mean, if it's a special teams drill, he's talking to James Daniel. It's a field goal drill. He's the winger. He's going to be the wing, but he's off to the side. He's working on his punch, simulating that rep. I think just the work he's put in, you've seen that improvement, and it starts with that desire and work ethic that he's shown. So I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know where this is going to end up for him. 53-man roster is still a considerable long shot, I think, but you've seen improvement, and I think he's just setting himself up to make the most of the situation.
We talk about guys that are going to log a lot of snaps during the preseason. He's going to be in that boat this year.
Yep, as he should be. You want to get a long look at him now that his head isn't swimming. He knows what's going on. He's a little more comfortable out there. Now you can. Last year was really hard to evaluate because you knew every mistake he made was making mistakes for the first time. Now you can really evaluate him as a player and not just as a project.
Yeah, I'm rooting for him.
Me too.
Zach Gentry, what's going on there?
Some issues with run blocking, which is certainly not a shock. Our skipper was able to shed him once today. His areas of strength are going to be down the seam where he's just running a straight line and using that big 6'8" frame of his to help box guys out, and then down blocking as a run blocker, being able to seal guys down, just utilizing his size. When he's going to have to drive block and base block guys, he's going to struggle with leverage, his hand placement, his strength overall. When he's going to be running these breaking routes, the 10-yard ins, the quick out routes, he's going to struggle to be able to get out of his break and create separation. He'll have to rely again on his size to be able to box guys out. So if you can kind of get this guy in a line, you're going to have the best version of Zach Gentry until he's another year or two for him to really get acclimated to the position and acclimated to the NFL.
All right, and what group, who's running ahead of who in that group?
With tight ends, it's so hard. They mix and match. You're bringing in 2, 3 tight ends. I mean, it's hard to even to be able to describe that exactly, but I would probably go with Scotland Williamson ahead of guys like Rader and Trevor Wood, but it's hard to even get a good read on it, to be honest with you.
All right, wide receiver, past Juju. I mean, no sense talking about that unless you got anything to add about Juju. We know Dante Moncrief's out. Sounds like Deontay Johnson got him some first-team reps today. James Washington with another deep reception. How good does that make you feel?
It was good. I wish I could have seen exactly how he got so open on Joe Hayden. I don't know if he put a move or if it was his own coverage. It was exploited or what. It was on the ball was on the 1-yard line. The own 1-yard line was play action. Ben hit Washington, but another big play for him is nice. Yeah, Deontay Johnson getting some more work with the ones. His numbers have kind of perked up from a quiet first 2 days. Just looking at the stats I had this morning, you're seeing James Washington, I think, have good numbers. Deontay Spencer's being able to create some big plays. He's got the second best yards per catch on the team right now, behind Juju at 15.2 yards per catch. So you're seeing, and that was before today's practice, just for the record. So you're seeing some nice things from him. A lot of talent. And then I thought for the first time, really, Tevin Jones, Trey Griffey making a little bit of noise. They're still way back in the pack. Jones a little ahead of Griffey, but they popped up more today than they probably have any day so far.
Do you, after watching Spencer now for 5 practices, I mean, does he have that professional wide receiver, look and I guess work ethic? Does he look like this isn't new to him?
Yeah, he looks like he belongs. It doesn't look like a deer in the headlights. Does that mean he's going to make the team? No. I think the return game is still obviously going to be his number one path. If he doesn't show anything in the return game, it's hard to really make a case for making a roster spot. And he's getting work in the kick return game. They had a kick return session today, so we'll see there. But yeah, he doesn't look lost. He looks like a guy that has been playing professional football, albeit in the CFL, for several years now.
Where's roughly his average depth of target been?
I couldn't tell you that. I mean, his average yards per catch is 15.2 again heading into today.
Is he getting some yak or perceived yak? I mean, I know they're not thudding the whole time.
A little bit of that. I mean, there have been some deep plays. There's been some deep plays where he's gotten open and had some misconnections on. So I probably more of him getting deep than it has been yak. He hasn't taken anything short and gone real long. He has been more of a vertical threat, if that's a good way for me to describe it. Does it look like he can stack some guys? I mean, I think he just wins with that pure speed. I don't know if he's going to be able. I don't know if you want him stacking in the sense he's going to get bodied at the catch point if he's right on top of a guy. I think him just straight burning somebody is going to be his ticket. Someone like James Washington is someone that's going to do a better job of stacking, and maybe someone that doesn't have that elite speed but can really wrestle for the ball when it's in the air. So I would probably denote a little bit of a difference between how Spencer wins vertically with how someone like James Washington might win vertically.
I think we've got a few questions about Eli Rogers, but why aren't you talking more about Eli Rogers?
Well, he only had 2 receptions before today's practice, so there wasn't a whole lot to note. He's still been running, mixing in with the first team. Switcher's injury, obviously, that's something to monitor. I mean, he's been fine. It just hasn't been super involved, but we kind of know what you have in Eli Rogers. He's back, he's healthy, he's in camp, and those are all positive things for him. I think his camp has not been anything spectacular, but I mean, he's been fine.
He's been running ahead, seemingly, of Switzer?
It felt like it, but again, there is a lot of mixing and matching that it's hard to really pin down. Maybe once we get into preseason games, you'll have a better feel for that stuff. Because you had today even where Ben's throwing passes to Tevin Jones and Trey Griffey, where they were really kind of getting deep in the rotation. So, short answer, yes, Eli's been ahead of Switzer, but I don't think it's anything I'm going to go crazy about right now.
And Mike Tomlin made sure to warn us, don't get caught up with who's running with who.
Right, yeah, especially at receiver. Receiver is like the number one position where you can't freak out too much about that stuff because some guys are, position specific, and there is just so much mixing and matching that, I'm not going to make anything too much out of where a guy's lining up on one particular play.
What about the Switzer getting banged on the quad or whatnot?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure when it happened. I didn't see him leave the field, but they threw a little swing bubble screen from Rudolph to Switzer. Hilton came flying in, tackled him pretty hard for about a 1 yard gain, and then I'm guessing that's when it happened, just kind of based on the timeline of whenever I saw Missing Matthews tweet that Switzer had left and based on the play that he was involved in. Couldn't tell you the severity. I mean, I think he managed to not. I don't think he got carted off. I'm assuming he walked under his own power, so that's some good news. But we'll just have to wait and see. Not a surprise if these guys aren't going to go tomorrow. If Herb and Switzer don't practice tomorrow, give them some time to rest and recover.
A damn bubble screen. Steelers need to fire Bruce Arians, don't they?
They sure do.
All right, defensive side of football. Some guy named Ola was playing on the left side because Chicolo was out. How did that go?
Yeah, first team left outside linebacker for Ola Adani. Still working on pronouncing that last name correctly. Definitely a tougher challenge, which you would expect, and certainly a different body type and type of tackle when you were facing Gerald Hawkins and now you're facing Matt Filer, who you're not going to bull rush the way that you might Gerald Hawkins, which, by the way, Adani did do to Hawkins and O-line, D-line a little bit later. So, probably figuring him out a little bit. I did like the run defense. I think one of the first plays of that full contact team session, Adene was able to get off the block of Grimble, shed it, and make the tackle for maybe a 1 or 2 yard gain. So the run defense has been strong. Getting around Matt Filer, though, is going to be kind of a different animal for Adene to try to solve.
So he got him a little test today.
Yeah, which is good. I think he's certainly gotten the A+ for the work against second team. I mean, Hawkins just could not stop him 9 out of 10 times. And so now you want to go against the starters and see how you react against the top of the top, guys that are on this team. And Filer, it's just so tough to get around him, and you can't get through him. I mean, that's going to be it's going to help Adani to kind of be able to become a better player and figure out how to win against a guy like Filer's body type.
For what it's worth, I don't think it's going to prevent him from at this point from making the 53. But Keith Butler was on Steelers Nation Radio the other day talking about it's important that he they like him, and it's important that dadgummit he shows up on special teams. So.
I am, and if you disagree, feel free to tell me. I'm a little concerned about that they see Adene just as at number 4. They're not going to get him involved in the defense. Listen, I know he's not going to start over Bud this year. I've accepted that. But he needs to be part of this rotation to some extent. And I feel like the things that Butler said after the draft and what Butler's saying now about, we got 3 good linebackers and Adene can be the number 4 in special teams. I'm worried that they're just going to use Adene as a number 4 and never let him touch the field defensively until there's an injury. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I feel you. I mean, let's get through the preseason here and
Sure.
Make sure he's not going up against those furniture movers and going up maybe against some more legitimate tackles either side.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, look, especially if he's at home on the right side, right? Why not get him some snaps a game in place of Bud Dupree? You're going to keep Bud Dupree fresher that way. And, if you have the confidence if you have the confidence in him, then he should get a handful of snaps, maybe a series or so on that right side instead of Chico. Look, I mean, this guy, and I don't want to jinx him. We've talked about him since last preseason there, and we've really hyped him back up this offseason so far here. I mean, you go back through that tape last year. I mean, we really are expecting big things out of him this year during the preseason here, and if he delivers that and he delivers it against better quality tackles. Yeah, I'm with you. They shouldn't let him sit.
Mm-hmm. I agree, but this team is a little hard-headed when it comes to their linebackers with the way they do rotations. I'm just saying I'm a little concerned that he's gonna get stuck this year. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen, but just some of those comments have me feeling a little queasy.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see for sure. All right, the rest of the outside linebackers.
JT Jones, he's going to be inconsistent. He can get washed. He's a smaller body type, slighter frame, doesn't have great strength, but someone with a good first step that can flash it and get around the edge. So I thought JT Jones, was someone that they have different body types. Skipper is more power. JT Jones is more burst and win the edge. But a lot of talented pass rushers on this team. Tough cuts coming for that group.
All right, inside linebacker Bush stuck out a little bit more today, did he not?
I thought today, and maybe a heat of the moment, but I thought today was Bush's best day. Now, Benny still had some nice work against him on one-on-ones, but those are situations that are pretty tailored for the offense. But he had 2 pass breakups today, one against James Washington in 7 shots, another on James Conner, I believe, or Jalen Samuels, when Dobbs tried to check it down out of his own end zone. So I thought he did a nice job there. His run fills look good. Again, it's tough to tell, obviously, watching that stuff live, but with the off day, I think kind of gives you an opportunity to kind of breathe, and you come back, and I just thought Bush, from my point of view, seeing it live, I thought he had his best day so far as a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Keith Butler also talked about, look, these guys have been going against each other long enough now. We can't wait now to see them in the preseason. Want to see them go against somebody else's team here. So that's something to look forward to. What's Dirty Red and Ulysses doing?
Dirty Red's doing Dirty Red things. Good run defense. Instinctual, finds the football. Going to be the number 4. I still feel pretty confident in his roster spot being secure based on the special teams value. But Gilbert's certainly showing more athleticism. I think he's around the ball a lot. Still running third team. So a little bit with Spillane, a little bit with Tigre Scales. But I think he's a good athlete that has decent recognition. The big key for him is being able to tackle and finish the play. I thought that was one of his biggest issues at Akron, being that slighter, shorter frame. If he can finish plays, especially on special teams, you can't miss tackles, then he'll have a role or a chance for a role. If he can't do that, probably looking practice squad for year 1.
All right, I guess go to defensive line. Any new developments there?
Big Dan playing well. He's making this team. I think based on where he's at right now. I mean, he's playing well, and there's probably no one to really push him off that spot. So he's getting, clogging in run defense, getting a little bit of pressure, using just a bull rush and slowly kind of walking guys back. And Isaiah Buggs, I'm seeing the burst, seeing the hand use, ability to defeat blocks, disengage, make an impact as a pass rusher. Had a good pressure today in 7 shots, working off Fred Johnson. So I like where Isaiah Buggs is at as a rookie.
Buggs is going to have him a sack or 2 during the preseason.
Yeah, I think or at least some hurries, 3 or 4 hurries. Can he convert them? We'll see, but he's gonna win some battles up front.
How far is a guy like Cooks ahead of the rest of the class?
Maybe
the sales and
sure. Yeah, Craig and Mondo and all that. He's the veteran, so he gets more reps and more looks. He went against Ramon Foster in O-line, D-line today. I just feel like Hooks is kind of maxed out, where he's a body with good strength, but he just really doesn't work off blocks too well. He's not an athlete. He's pretty comparable to maybe a little bigger body version of LT Walton, and I don't think those guys work well enough in today's NFL.
Is anybody behind him going to push him at all?
Sales has done fine. I think Sales is cut from a similar cloth, a little more athletic, not quite as a big body. Winston Craig keeps popping up, somebody that's kind of more athletic, penetrating, got some nasty demeanor to his game with the ability to finish. So I think if you want one deep reserve, it's still Winston Craig. I mean, Greg Gilmore has been very just – I don't even notice the guy. Connor Sheehy, same thing. Henry Mondo, a little bit of end, nose tackle versatility. But if I had to rank him, it would be something like Buggs, Hooks. I might go Craig and then Sales and then the rest of them. But they're all kind of in that same tier.
All right, so it's still the main 6 that we still have been thinking all along, right?
Yeah, I mean, Hooks and Sales and them are fine, but I'm still looking Buggs as the inside looking out, everyone else outside looking in.
All right, cornerbacks.
Don't have a whole lot to note there today. Cam Sutton, though, I think his run defense has actually improved a lot. The 1-2, making open field tackles. Now, there were low tackles on some bigger backs, and that's probably the best thing for him to get those guys on the ground. But Tomlin was complimentary of his run defense today, and I think overall the group's been good. But Sutton in particular, I thought has done a really nice job of attacking the run. It's been a weakness of his. One reason why I like him more on the outside than a slot corner, but I'm seeing a more physical, confident, aggressive, and faster version of Cam Sutton this year.
All right, anything else to add on the corners?
Nope, not a whole lot there.
Safeties?
Burns getting some work at left corner. Still a little bit of rotation with Hayden just to give Burns. I think they're putting Burns more opportunities in 7 shots to kind of play situational football, some tighter quarters, kind of make him read and react a little bit more. With the safeties, Skew Henry played a little bit in the slot today. Dangerfield and popped up a little bit today in a good way in run defense, kind of par for the course for him. Cameron Kelly's still running first team, but I'm still very open to them adding somebody to this group. I think if there's one position that they're going to add to, I mean, it still could obviously be tight end, but I think safety is one we have to talk about as well. Keith Butler talking to Steelers Nation Radio yesterday about, we need to find a third safety. I think you're going to look in-house first, obviously, and Cameron Kelly has that opportunity, but he's still got to play well. It's not like he's playing so spectacular that he's locking himself into that spot. It's still a long ways to go with him. So I'm definitely going to end up researching some names at safety of guys that could be cut or guys that are on the bubble of a possible trade candidate at safety, because that's a position I could see this team add a name to the way they added J.J. Wilcox, was it 2-3 years ago?
And I obviously I think I transcribed that of Butler. What did you after parsing it, what do you make of all of it? What do you make about the interchangeable and the post safety comments and those kind of things?
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's a signal something different's going to happen, because it's been pretty easy to see who the post safety versus the box safety is, the way they line it up, and they are pretty separate responsibilities. But I think it's just the importance of safety depth, that if somebody goes down, someone else has to be able to step up. And basically saying is that we don't really feel confident in who our backup free safeties are, which I get, because Dangerfield's been the backup, and that's not really his role. He's a box safety. He's a kind of a Marcus Allen type of guy. So yeah, I mean, if you're trying to find a free safety, a center fielder, that may not exist on the roster. Again, Kelly will be given that opportunity, but there's a question about his athletic profile. So I would just keep an eye out on maybe a safety or two when we get later in August.
And I know everybody's hollering at their podcast machine. Trey Boston, Eric Berry,
Yeah.
Trey. But I mean, let's be realistic here. I mean, the odds, unless they lose a starter, the odds of that happening are not good. Look, Eric Berry's been banged up last 2 seasons. I mean, he's the dreaded 30 already, or 31. That's probably not going to fly. And a guy like Trey Boston is best served sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring for somebody that needs a starter to pay him $3 million.
All the additions this team has made late in August come from guys who are already on rosters. What free agent? I mean, we've talked about some of the mid-camp ads, but what big free agent name that have they added in Colbert the last 10 years, that have just gone on to play significant snaps? None. So it's going to be somebody on a roster that's in shape, that has a body of work that you can examine, that they like. So I'm going to have to dig through old pre-draft visits and stuff like that. So it's probably not going to be Boston. Plus, they brought in Boston for a visit 2 years ago and didn't sign. So I don't know what's going to be too different this time around. It's going to be someone on a roster today.
They're probably going to want a free safety-ish type, right?
Yep.
B, that person's going to have to play special teams.
I think Boston does fit both of those, but I still don't think he's going to be the answer.
I don't think Boston, at this point of his career, is interested in running down kicks. But
well, I think he's going to have to, regardless of where he signs. I mean, he might have to. I don't know. He needs a job.
I never say never, right? We don't speak
Sure.
in definitives, but I would be surprised if Trey Boston's got a long time to go before he's going to think about signing with the Steelers, I would think.
Yeah, he's a veteran. He doesn't want to go through a camp. No veteran wants to go through training camp. History says if the Steelers add to the position, it'll be somebody on a roster today. That's all I'm going to say.
I would agree. All right, anything else to add about the defensive backs and all?
Nope, I think that's everything. Those were the bulk of my notes. Who's got the interceptions? Let me look at my training camp stats. I think I closed out.
Tell me about 7 shots.
Offense won again. They've won the last couple of days. They won 5-2. Let me pull up the notes. Who did what? The first play, Bush broke up a throw to Washington. Next one, Ben hit Grimble for a score. The third one, Ben hit Vance for a score, a little stick route. There was a really long kind of scramble drill where the defense had good coverage, but eventually Ben found Deontay Johnson for a touchdown. Dobbs hit Washington over B.J. Locke for a score. Brian Allen had a good pass breakup on Tevin Jones, some nice rep for Brian Allen. And then the last one was Dobbs to Tevin Jones again for a touchdown.
All right, and what else were you going to hit me with? What kind of notes?
I was just trying to think of the defensive interceptions. I think Cam Sutton's leading this team with 2 picks right now. Had a third, he dropped. So they've been active and getting after the ball a little bit.
All right, you posted a nice image of your notebook on the Twitter machine, and I tried to use my little orphan Annie decoder ring to decipher some of it, and I think I saw in there, make sure to drink your Ovaltine.
It actually says, why are the Pirates trading Corey Dickerson for nothing? Because I didn't like that trade. Not to get too Pirate-centric on you.
And I could have swore that I'm still trying to decipher. One of them said Dave is the devil or Satan.
Dave is my favorite person in the whole wide world.
All right, obviously great job, Alex. You sure do a great job of painting a picture for us here.
And also, just real quick, my regular handwriting is slightly better than what you saw in the photo. It's not very good, but that is me writing very, very fast. So I don't have completely illegible handwriting whenever I'm doing non-training camp work.
Tell people that's sort of what that looks like one of my posts in drafts.
It looks better than your post in draft. I'm sorry. Some of those are a mess.
Oh,
but I'm impressed by your ability to clean it up as well as you do. Because it starts rough and you shine that up a little bit.
Yeah, that's why it takes 45 minutes for me to write 200 words like that. But I think I get to the end product. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah, don't ask how the sausage is made.
That's right. You trust me. You don't want to see how that sausage is made on SteelersDepot.com. That's for sure. All right, fantastic job, Alex. You'll be back out there again on Thursday. You and I will wrap it up again Thursday night, and then we're gonna have to. Then we'll be back on Friday morning recording a podcast, and of course the Friday night lights practice is Friday night. So thank you. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex Kozora on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. You can follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. Do we amuse you? Are you happy with what you're hearing? You want to pay us back? Go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit that PayPal button up right in navigational bar. Tell the fine people about our buddy Lynn Testa at Touring Plans.
Yeah, Lynn Testa, touringplans.com, been a sponsor for a long time now. Appreciate their support of the site. You can check them out if you're planning a trip to Disney over at touringplans.com, and they'll get you squared away to have a great time at the happiest place on earth.
Yeah, hop on the Twitter machine at Touring Plans. Let them know that you hear them talking about us on the Terrible Podcast as well. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.